Hi, how are you? Welcome to Impossible Live. Welcome back if you're joining us again. Regardless of where you are, I hope all is well in your world and that you're having a relaxing or a magnificent day. If your world is full of complex things happening, let's raise a glass and toast to mm, a more peaceful day, hopefully coming your way soon. One of the things that I love about going live is reminding myself that on days like today, when got a little bit on my mind, that remembering to turn the volume off the mobile device after leaving a clubhouse room is always desirable before going live. So thanks for joining me today. And if you have a chance, feel free to say hi in the chat and to just let us know one way we can help you in between our next Impossible Live. The interesting thing about today's title, for those of you who are have not joined us before, or for those of you who are returning, is today's title is inspired by the name of the book that I'm working on, my very first book. One of the cool things about the title is how it came around and how it originated. One of the fun things about today's title is I finally shared it with my mom today. I I think writing a book, little butterflies. And one of the things about the titles, I really appreciate an invitation from Marie Vega Byrne. And Marie wanted somebody to join a group that she and Jackie Muller and Tasmanika Rich were running during the pandemic. And the group was called Always Needing Diversity. And the thing about the group was Marie and I were privately having a conversation about Black Lives Matter and the origin of it. And their group always needing diversity. Marie wanted somebody to pop in as we were starting to have these conversations. She was starting to hear more in the news about somebody who could just pop in and speak with their group on Zoom. And it was a virtual presentation about microaggressions. Really took me a while to come up with the title. And one of the good things about it was after Marie really sharing some of the goals for what she wanted the presentation to kind of cover, it reminded me that part of this had to do with the conversations we have with each other about whether they're brave or not. And brave, we have different definitions of brave, we have different definitions of courage, we have different definitions of how we approach that professionally and personally and over time. And ah, sometimes it depends on our gender, on our generation, on our culture. And I think that's one of the funny things about sharing the title with my mom today. This is something that's kind of been around in my life for 3 years. And today I mentioned it to my mom for the first time. And it is the reminder that in the process of brave conversations, that approaching them with discernment, with care, with grace, with mutual respect, and in so many cases with the need sometimes for privacy. And we don't always have that in a professional setting. You don't always have the right timing and always have that from a family dynamics perspective either. And as entrepreneurs, maybe you're at a networking event, maybe you're at a team training. There's so many different places that we can be. The undiscussables came up because of that challenge, that all topics would always have the support, the space, the facilitators around to help us change the agenda, flip the script to change the topic. It's an interesting thing. As I also shared the title today with a really dear friend of 18 years that I was writing a book, she's cheering me on, and she cheered on the title. But besides me leaning into this title from a presentation, this title and it becoming a book title has to do with me deciding to share an updated presentation during Be Visible Chefs, which was a multi day retreat that I held for many years. And next year, there'll be an impossible retreat. So ask me more about that later. The thing about the title was, and I really appreciate it, I never thought, although I had always dreamed of writing a book, and Laquita Parks had a special offer for authors on how to support them. And she was doing a presentation before I was at Be Visible Chefs. And I decided behind the scenes in the green room as I was running the controls, wow, this offer's amazing. I am going to write a book. What I didn't realize was all of the different things that were happening. I ended up becoming a mental fitness to positive intelligence coach. I ended up starting writing a course, creating connections to scale. Yep, that one's next week. And it's a beta course. So, beta course, new book, the writer coming out and kind of reemerging. And in the process of this presentation for Be Visible Chefs, I mentioned it to a wonderful woman I call Exquisite Eve, and that's Eve Voyaveda of Brand Your Dream. She's been a guest a couple of times. She's a visual storyteller, and yep, thanks for the beautiful hearts for Eve. And Eve's like, Mel, this should be the title of your book. And it took me a minute because here's the presentation, and here was an invitation, a discussion with a bunch of people I really cared about on topics that were hard and challenging, and still the reserve, still the angst about should I do this? One of the things that I'm reminded at in the process of coming up with impossible live titles is the universe is like, ha ha, I have something to show her today. So in the process, had a chance to explore mental fitness through positive intelligence, which gave me kind of the vulnerability part and starting to write and go deep into the course. My first module is style. And here was amazing Yvette Bethel, who's also a fabulous guest of Organizational Soul and IFB Network and IFB Academy. And Yvette was giving an amazing presentation on emotional intelligence at a cool conference. And her presentation was on trust styles. The combination of the saboteur journey, the stories we tell ourselves, the trust deep dives, it really added the vulnerability and the transparency to really step into this book really needs to happen. And I was about to start. Pop passed away this spring, and that has caused Mel this summer to hire amazing Leslie George of Mosaic Inc. to help this labor of love become that book. In the process, I just would love to talk with you about how it's opening me up from the perspective of writing pages, how it's adding some transparency in. I don't usually have conversations about politics out loud. I just bought a shirt last night. Voting. Thank you so much, Jill. Voting is my black job. Not a shirt Mel would normally wear. Not a shirt I would normally even talk about on a live, but a real reminder that as things are really important to us, as Audre Lorde said, our silence will not protect us. And our silence, I'm grateful for PQ because in positive intelligence, there's an amazing community of practice run by stellar Sandra Fletcher and Tiana Dutt, and they are two of the most amazing women. And this community of practice has community of agreements and helped me find really a voice, which led to becoming a better leadership coach. What I love about this and the community of practice and the belonging part, which has always been really, really important to me, is that a great new friend and collaborator asked me recently, I don't know what you do, Mel. And it reminds me, we show up to serve, we show up to lend a hand, we show up of service, we show up as professionals, as entrepreneurs. And unless we're really deep and active listening, we're not sure whether others really hear it. So I'm reminded today in the process of talking about brave conversations about the undiscussables to let you know Mel is a coach. I'm a strategist. I help people with customer, with donor, with employee, with event, with exhibitors, and with sponsor experiences. How do I do that? Well, I ignite trust and I help others ignite trust when they're ready, inclusive leaders and dynamic teams. And when they're ready, whether it's through how they use gifts and incentives during, after, in between events, whether it's how they're using team building or conversations to share the problems that they help others solve, and so that others discover their solutions. And they're not the best kept secret in our fragile world. And I got started as an entrepreneur because I love to help not for profits raise funds. I'm honored to be on the board of Fearless Hudson Valley. And Fearless Hudson Valley is a board for domestic violence advocacy and education. We provide non residential and residential services for victims and survivors of domestic violence, of teen dating violence, of intimate partner violence, and of human trafficking. I was reminded in the process of preparing today, as somebody really close to me is like, I am not sure I know what you do. I was reminded to really be specific. We miss that opportunity with clarity in our conversations. Sometimes because we're busy volunteering, we're busy serving, we're busy helping others, we're busy being great family members, great community members, great neighbors. We spend a lot of time, hopefully, showing others that we care in this fragile world. Our voices are important. We need to be heard. We need to all not be the best kept secret. And the joke is, best kept secret has to be my number one package. So it's ironic when you're having these conversations, try and be really conscious of the style of the person you're speaking with, whether they're an introvert, whether they're an ambivert, whether they're an extrovert, whether the timing and the cadence is right for the conversation, whether how we show up, whether they're neurodiverse or have a need for accommodations or access needs that we're not aware of. Be really patient, be really respectful, and take your time. Underneath this, while we're talking about brave conversations, the desire to help others eliminate isolation is really important. Do it with care, especially when someone has a mental health issue. And if you're not sure if they have a mental health issue, you need to not do it alone. You need to make sure you're really well prepared and that you have stellar support. And I'm grateful for stellar support from an amazing village, from an amazing family, an amazing extended family. I never believed in this process, and I've been talking for a while about extended seasons of gratitude, grief, and growth. I never believed how losing Pop the week of my parents' anniversary and a couple of months before he turned 90 would change all of the work in emotional intelligence, the transparency. Emma, woo, trust styles. You go, girl. Emma, I love you. So, trust styles, trust styles, there are 6 of them. And Yvette Bethel of Organizational Soul introduced me to them. And trust styles, there are 6 of them. Emma, Yvette's amazing pillars, and let's call them pillars because there's a pillar of trust and there's a pillar of self trust. So there's different components to them. One of the components, and Emma, I'll send you a little link later so you can check it out. If anybody else is curious about trust styles, I love introducing you to them. And I also love doing coaching around them. And the cool part about the trust styles is there are basically 3 pillars, and you'll love it because I just started a new trust certification last week for self trust. There are 4 parts to the pillar. It kind of, Yvette would say, it forms a beautiful circle. But the trust styles, it's not like our Myers Briggs or uh, DIS styles where they're kind of fixed. The more work we do to explore self trust, to explore trust willingness, to explore trustworthiness, to explore psychological safety, and whether we're looking for trust opportunities. All of these combine in trust styles. And the trust styles, when Yvette mentioned this, Emma, I lit up. I was like, oh my goodness, what in the world is this? You'll love it. I put releasing the course on hold. And I'm now working on my third certification with Yvette. The first one is trust style. The second one is trusted leader certification. And the current one is on self trust in an amazing course that Yvette has called Say Yes to Me. In the fall, I'll pursue advanced trust facilitation. And I learned this whole Ignite Trust journey was something that the girl from the Bronx, that Mel with braids, who was the introvert, who wouldn't always come out to play, I needed to learn about this. And Yvette really helped light me up. It's really leading to the voice that's behind the the voice that's leading behind brave conversations about the undiscussable. And I find it interesting because, as I said to a really good friend today, that today was going to be the day that brought out the trolls on Meta in posts, and it started. And that's what this journey about self trust has taught me. That's what this journey about brave conversations has taught me. Really be conscious of how we show up, who we show up as, who we have conversations with. And we're in a world now that's getting more and more confusing as I'm having conversations with global friends. And 2 yesterday really helped me rewrite my book outline. And today I was up early, starting with writing pages. So thanks, Tiambe, for introducing me to The Artist Way. Thanks, Lachelle and Kimberly, for having discussions about The Artist Way in Elephant Strategy Club. And thank you, Christy Tong, for the beautiful workbook you just sent me as an amazing holiday present. I want to thank you for joining me today for Brave Conversations about the Undiscussables. Please keep your insights coming in between and around Impossible I. Please keep the questions coming. Please keep the conversations coming. One of these days, I'm going to show up for a live wearing that t shirt, which is now just like some of the things that we stand up for, the things we believe in, the things that we don't necessarily share because we're not sure we're in a safe, well supported place. I know now I have the right support around me. An amazing guardian angel and guardian angels to kind of keep an eye out. And I hope when you have a chance, whether it's a conversation you haven't had with someone because of an extended season of gratitude, grief, and growth, I'm delighted to have these conversations with you. Impossible was a magnet on my refrigerator. It was a love and gratitude journal that I shared rarely in social media posts. It's now Impossible Live. And thanks to you, and thanks to you, it's here today. And I love Emma's asking, undiscussable can be a hard to have conversation because of our personal background, our personal beliefs, our culture, our legacy, our families, the professional workplaces that we're in, the cultures that we participate in, the spiritual and religious practices that we believe in. It can be challenging to approach having the conversation with ourselves. And that, I think, is the starting point. When we reach a point when we're afraid to say it in the dark at night, when it's quiet, when we're concerned about saying it to somebody we love or care about, when the silence becomes the choice. Ben Baker had an amazing post recently, reminded me of the song The Sound of Silence. It's a choice, that it's not an undiscussable. We need permission. Has to be a trust opportunity, has to go both ways. And if it isn't a trust opportunity, really needs to be in a really safe, private place. Emma, it truly can be with a particular person. Today, I told mom the name of my book in a very short conversation, and I promised to call her back later. It can be a topic such as approaching grief amongst the family, how we're going to celebrate the lives of our loved ones, how we're going to honor someone with steps, how we're going to honor a legacy, how we're going to want honor an awardee, a recipient. What conversation are we going to have with our children, with our nephews, our nieces, our godsons, our goddaughters? I remember a conversation a long time ago, very hard, with our oldest godson who was living with us so we could help him get out of high school. Delighted to say he's an amazing young man in his 30s, building a wonderful, fabulous life. But I remember that first undiscussable conversation. And he started it and then realized that he started it with the aunties who are listening fully. He didn't want to have it anymore. But I appreciated he let me know shortly after that I had started a conversation he wasn't very comfortable with. It goes two ways. Undiscussable may be, can you share it? Are you comfortable sharing it in your journal? Are you comfortable sharing it in a diary? And if not, are we comfortable saying it out loud? Shh, who's listening? Who's watching? And the reminder, act as if someone's always watching, a guardian angel, a child, someone you care about, someone with a digital device, someone who is listening to your words and will remember them and never forget that you said them. Let's be safe out here. Let's be careful out here. let's also really take great care. And thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing this with somebody and for your incredible support. Stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, stay in touch. During my health journey, yep, green drinks hanging out during Impossible Live. Join us soon again when you can. And please consider following Ignite Trust on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on other platforms. Brave Conversations About the Undiscussables. Coming soon. Take great care. Be well. And thanks so much, Emma. You're right. Always lots to think about, right? And I hope you all have a magnificent day. Stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, and please stay in touch. Take great care.